And just like that, the P38 is gone.
And in comes the Hoopty.
Just noticed issue number 1 here.
The P38 was such a fun project. I miss it already. While I have a little extra garage space and I've been driving the Mercy more, about day 1 after it left my driveway, I was starting to look for the next car. What the P38 really taught me is 2 things. 1, if you buy a car that's poorly represented, and you just put in the effort to represent it well, you can probably make some upside on that alone. But 2, if you can find a car that had a reputation for being unreliable and was therefore heavily depreciated, and then you address all the issues or problem areas that that car is known for being unreliable for, then buyers will pay a premium for that because they know it's sorted. And a P38 can never be sorted, but we did the coil spring conversion to fix the air suspension that leaked a lot. We proved that the head gaskets were fine. We went through and just methodically showed every problem, quirk, and issue so that the buyer knew exactly what they were getting, and that worked. I set a new record for the P38 on Cars and Bids by $250, $19,250. It went to Big Dog Andy, he loves it. We've been chatting, and everyone was happy. So it's time to test these hypotheses further across Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Auto Tempest, a few other places. We have been lowballing for 3 months and finally have a new vehicle on the way. The 3 finalists were a Hummer H2 SUT, a Maserati Quattroporte, and a Bentley Arnage T. I like all of them for different reasons. The Hummer H2 SUT initially was the winner, but it was just too much like the P38, especially since I wanted a yellow one. I'm gonna save that for the future probably. Arnage T and the Quattroporte were really a bit of a toss-up, but I kept coming across different Quattroportes. The first one I found in Phoenix, priced right, pristine service history, low miles. I had my friend go check it out and the coolant was a milkshake, it was stumbling at idle, and probably has a blown motor. So I had to scrap that. Started negotiating on a Bentley Arnage T in Michigan, which seemed pretty nice, but had a ticket startup, which could be an exhaust leak or it could be a blown motor. And it had an airbag light, which is unfixable, so you just have to live with the airbags not deploying. Wasn't terrible, was priced accordingly, but the winner was another Maserati Quattroporte. What I liked about this one is it's a really rare spec, so you'll have to see in a minute because it's going to be delivered soon. Interior and exterior, final model year. So the Maserati Quattroporte, the reason it has a bad reputation is because the early ones came with the F1 transmission, or Maserati called it Duo Select. It was perfectly fine on a tip frog, as we call them, a Ferrari 360 Modena, but on a sedan that you daily drive, having a clutch that slips all the time and is really herky-jerky was not good for dailies. They were eating clutches every 15,000 miles or so, and basically unpleasant to drive. So they started out really poorly because of that. And then there was a second issue. The early ones came dry sump motor with cam variator issues, meaning there would be oil starvation. Eventually the motors would eat themselves. So the majority of early Quattroportes you find are either mechanically totaled and being parted out, or very cheap but for a reason. First they switched to a ZF transmission in 2007. About half of them were Duo Select and half of them were ZF transmissions. And then around 2008 and onward, they just went strictly ZF transmission. That fixed fatal flaw number 1. So you can find a later one, you got the ZF, they cost a little bit more, but your major Achilles heel is solved. Issue 2 was the cam variators. Took them a little longer to figure this out. Around mid-2010, they revised the cam variators and put in a check so that it always had oil in it. And that resolved the other really expensive, like over $5,000 repair that you could get on these cars. So I was looking specifically for 2010 and a half to 2013 Maserati Quattroporte. Unfortunately, by the end of the run of these cars, no one wanted them. The reputation was ruined. They'd been out a while, they'd been stale. Maserati did facelift them, but like, it was over. Finding them has been really tricky, and all the ones I could find are silver, white, or black. And if there's one thing I learned from my P38, it's that I really don't want a grayscale car. I want to find something with a fun color that popped. So here's the fun part. I found one in Texas. It was this beautiful blue color, not like a dark blue, like a vibrant blue. Black interior with the MC Sportline carbon fiber package. Spec better than any car I've seen pre or post facelift. So regardless of whether the cam variators and the transmission were right, best spec Quattroporte I've seen in probably 6 months of looking. The guy wants 20 grand for it despite it having relatively high miles. And typically a car with that mileage would transact for like, let's call it 12 to 15. So we were pretty far apart. I lowballed him, he countered. We kept going back and forth for probably 2 weeks. We land at 14, but I said, I want a PPI first, and he said, sure, no problem. He took it in, I'll go over it later, but mostly small stuff. Oddly, $3,000 worth of stuff, but like a lot of that was dealer prices or not really needed. So we'll suffice to say, we'll tackle that in episode 2 when we started to address the mechanicals. We met in the middle, we agreed to the price, and this is when chaos ensues. And really the reason why buying off Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist is harder than just negotiating. It's actually agreeing to the deal terms. So first red flag, the bill of sale and the title didn't match. Completely different names. It turns out the seller never was on the title in the first place, and it maybe belonged to a relative. So a whole thing had to go through with getting the relatives to prove that they had given authorization. This set us back about a week. At this point, I'm digging into the seller. Things seem a little sketchy. Noticed they were selling a water slide and some other random things, and it just, all sorts of red flags went off. He then asked me to Zelle him the full amount up front before he would send either the title, the bill of sale, or the car. And there's one thing you need to know is there's 3 things in a transaction: the title, the car, and the money. No one should have all 3 at the same time. He wanted me to send him the money without me receiving the title or the car in return yet. So at one point we kind of got into a fight over text. We called the deal off. I walked away. I figured it wasn't gonna happen. 5 days later, we both agreed, hey, I really want the car. Hey, he really wants to sell it. I sent him a deposit. He sent the title. I sent him the money. We finally worked it out. The car should be arriving soon. I cannot wait. It's sight unseen with a buying process that was very sketchy, so a lot could still go wrong here, but I at least know that there's a blue Maserati Quattroporte on a truck on its way here. Since the car's not here yet, I'm gonna use 1/18 scale die cast to illustrate what the garage will look like. You can see here a very nice Auto Art Murcielago. And in comes the hoopty. Probably like real life, this one has paint match issues too, but we have a Mesta 1/18 scale Maserati Quattroporte, the M139, which came out in the early 2000s and ran through 2013 with a Ferrari-derived V8 engine from the F430. It does not have the flat plain crank, but otherwise extremely similar architecture. And while I looked at an early one, a manual swap it, the cost of swapping it was about 40 to 50 grand versus a car that's worth maybe 10 on a good day. So I'm excited for Italian engine noises on a budget.
Get it right off the truck before I even finished my morning shower. This was less than 24-hour shipping, and it is here. So let's do a walk around and see what we got into. This is literally my first time seeing it because I bought it sight unseen from like 5 pictures on Facebook Marketplace and a seller who didn't talk too much. So we'll see what that means. I love the color. It is so, so cool. I haven't even opened the doors yet to see inside, but walk around, like the wheels, I don't love the black, and a couple of them have like some chipping here. I do see like a weird paint defect going on right there that we'll have to look into, but like certainly all the panels look straight. There's no damage. This is all figure outable, I think. Again, like kind of the wheels is dirty, but I told him like, don't bother. Look at that color though. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so pumped. It was so hard to find a non-silver, white, or black one. So here we are. Had to remove that plate frame, do a couple other little things. The other thing that I definitely want to address early is there's PPF, which is good, but the like half bra cutoff does not look great. She is here. She is beautiful. Oh, I got to see the inside here. So this was what really stood out. All of them have cream interiors. But this one, MC Sportline, which I'm told is mostly just a fancy way of saying carbon fiber, but carbon wheel, red piping on the seats, the blue gauges, the ZF transmission. This thing is gorgeous inside. Oh, even the door cards had the carbon and then the contrast stitching, the pedals, like not to sound like a Porsche guy, but this is a cool spec. I kind of want to drive it, but I'm also not sure when the last oil change was done. So I got all this stuff to do an oil change in my driveway before I put too many miles on it, but maybe we should do a cold start. I have already started to research exhaust though. And here, of course, is the Ferrari-derived belly of the beast here. Gorgeous engine. I just checked there's enough oil, so I'm gonna do a quick spin around the block and just see how it drives and make sure we didn't get a lemon there. Wow, first drive, it sounds great. It's got some pickup. I am oddly surprised, like my head is pretty much hitting the roof liner and the seat's all the way down. So I'm surprised it's not made for taller people. And if the camera's wobbling, that's because the ride quality is not great here. So maybe it's in sport mode, I'm not sure. But it drives, and let's see here. It seems to be tracking straight. I'm not like pulling hard or anything. So we'll get it in and get it a further diagnosis, but I think so far so good here. I'm not overly concerned. The visor up here is held on with Velcro, so that's that'll need addressed. A couple things like that. Not sure if the camera picked up that sound, but it sounds good. It also came with a completely empty tank of gas, which I'm not surprised on, whatever, but like very on brand for how this transaction's gone. The steering is way too light at high speeds, whatever. I'm just nitpicking here. I'm over the moon. This is awesome. I'm stoked. This is great. Hopefully, as I get to explore this car, I'm not gonna find anything too hidden, but a couple dings in the paint, definitely some deferred maintenance, but I think I scored pretty well with this one. What do you guys think of the car? You like it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just for filming.
This is a fancy one.
Yeah, it is a fancy one.
It has extra seats in the trunk.
Uh-huh. I know this is a little nuts, but this has probably been on since new, and we're gonna remove it, so let's try this. And actually the whole glass is done. Nothing but clean glass on the inside. It had a lot of residue. Gotta do something about this tint. It is just so dark. Can't be legal, and it's just overkill, but it looks okay. Jazzy, you like the Maserati? Yeah, you like the Maserati, huh? Jazzy! Well, just noticed issue number 1 here. This ugly plate frame holder, I was getting it gone. And oops. All right, time for the first wash. I can't wait. First wash is complete. I am pleasantly surprised with the car. It's got a couple little things here and there. That front bumper ding is rather unfortunate, but it looks beautiful next to the Mercy here. A little 04 rich action for you. So excited to now tackle the mechanical and see how she looks that way. I paid $14K for a car that's stickered over $140K. What's the worst that could happen here? My goal in this series is to drive it as much as I can. Let's figure out if these cars are just giant turd buckets in terms of reliability, or if maybe just the initial problems that the car had doomed it for failure and it doesn't deserve the rep it has. We shall see.